I've got a few options for the next stage. So at this point I could put the frets in, and that's actually what a lot of people do at this point, because the back of the neck is flat. Putting the frets in is quite easy when it's like this. I could do the headstock, and I could contour the back of the neck. Despite the fact that I've seen lots of people putting the frets in at this point, I think I'm going to hold off on that, because I'm worried that if I do that first and I get it looking really good, when I go to carve the back of the neck, I'm worried that those frets could end up being damaged with all the handling that's involved in that. So I think I'll do the headstock. So in doing the headstock, what I really want is for my neck to end up with a nice little scooped contour like what this one has. Okay, so now I'm going to just scribe a line. This doesn't have to be perfect, it's just a guide so that I don't sand off too much and go too thin. So in order to choose the best sanding bobbin, I thought I'd just try and line one up with my fender, and this one looks probably the closest. Okay, so it looks like I screwed up here again. There's the line I was hoping to follow, and that's all looking good. However, on the other side, looks like I was holding the neck wrong, and I've taken off too much material there. Instead of being 15mm, it's going to be about 13.5 there. That might not seem like a lot, but it is a lot, and it's more than I wanted to take off it. So I'm not really sure what to do about that yet. I'm just going to try and do the best I can to keep the rest 15mm, and then I'll just look at my options after that. Well, I've sanded it pretty close to the line along this side. But on this side, as you can see, that's where the line's supposed to be. You can see a bit of it there. And I've just gone way below. Now I've checked, and traditionally some Telecaster necks are that thin or thinner. Sorry, headstocks I should say. But I was hoping to keep it the same as my other one, but I'm going to try and go by hand from now using rasps, files and sandpaper, and see if I can take it all down to this thickness and hope for the best. Well, it actually looks quite good. It's not quite how I planned it. It's not what I was thinking of, but it's I think we're heading in the right direction now. Okay, I think that looks quite good. There's a few little scratch marks here and there, which will come out later with final sanding. But yeah. Okay, having carved the headstock, it's now about the neck contour. All right, so I want this neck to eventually feel the same as this neck. So I need to copy the shape and contour of this one. The way I'm going to do that is, well, I'm going to do it two ways. I'm actually going to use this contour gauge to start with, and to give me a rough template. And then once I'm getting close to my final shape, I'm probably going to switch to, well, I might make a new template out of this stuff here called Polymorph. These are moldable pellets that you can mold around any shape that you want. So all I have to do is press this against the first fret, just behind the first fret actually. That's the contour I want. So I'm going to transfer that to a piece of cardboard and cut it out. Okay, well, that fits. So that's the first fret template. Now I'm going to make another mold just behind the 9th fret. Choosing the 9th fret because this is the last fret before the neck starts to slope up into the heel. So from there to the first fret is a straight line. After that it starts to slope. So this is the last one I can really use as a proper reference for carving the neck. Okay, 2 templates. So there's several ways I could carve this neck. The way I'm going to do this is I've marked out where the 1st and 9th frets are on the back of the neck, and I'm going to use some files to bring the height down in those 2 points to a pre-measured depth. At the 1st fret, at the moment it's about 27 millimeters, so I'm going to bring that down to about 21. And up here, I'm going to bring it down to about 25. So once I've done that, I can start to slowly build in a curve, and once I've got both contours done perfectly, well, I'm going to leave some wiggle room, but once I've got both curves pretty close, then you basically join those 2 points and you shave off everything in between. But having a reference point there and there allows you to create that straight edge and then continue it beyond those points. Okay, so this one's pretty close at the moment. That might look kind of extreme, but really all I've taken off is that amount there in a semicircular shape. So this is down to about 1 mil from where its real depth needs to be. So now I'm going to do the same thing at the 9th fret and try to connect them with a straight line. And look what I found. This is the toothpick hole from earlier. Remember when I drilled way too deep into the fretboard for my locating pin? Well, there's the other end of it, so I thought that might happen. Okay, 9th fret's done as well. Now that one doesn't go as deep because it's closer to the heel. So my job is now to connect that to that with a straight line. I've left about a millimeter of extra depth on each side just for safety, just in case I'm an idiot and I cut too far. I've left myself a bit of a buffer there. So So that's the area behind the 1st fret, and if we go all the way up, that's the area behind the 9th fret. So next thing is I've drawn a center line down there between the 2 points. These bits I'm now going to round off and carve out, but I want to make sure I don't touch the center line. So as I'm rounding and carving and all that, I've got to watch this line to make sure it stays intact. This is starting to look pretty good. Got a good curve there, and again I've left a bit more material for later, but I think this is probably good enough now that I can start to extend further and transition into the headstock and transition to the heel and gradually work it down to its final depth. So the Telecaster has a kind of a rectangular shape. Comes down to about there. And kind of disappears off that way, I guess. Probably right there is where this contour needs to kind of stop about there and start to transition. So I'm going to constantly reference this, I think, while I'm doing that work. So now I'm basically trying to sand down the sides until these grooves that I've made at the 1st and 9th fret start to fade away. So progress with the neck is good. There's a nice curve on there. Feels nice. Very rough though still. And I'm at the point now where these cardboard templates that I made are no longer accurate enough for me to really keep going. I need to make better templates so that I can get down to the final depth and the final shape accurately. So this is where the Polymorph comes in. I'm going to use these Polymorph pellets to make a mold of my acoustic guitar neck. I actually might make 3 templates this time, and then I can sort of click that into place on the neck and really get a proper read on how close I am. So I've got my acoustic here, and I'm going to put some tape down over the areas that I intend to mold. So it's the 1st fret, 9th fret, and I think I might do one in the middle. Maybe I'll do the 8th fret and the 3rd fret, just so I can get a good variety of results. It'll also help me to create a straight line. So over here I have a kettle. I don't have a thermometer or anything, so I'm just going to be guessing a rough temperature. Has to be 65 degrees or so, which is pretty darn hot. So I'm going to pour some of these Polymorph tablets in measuring jelly. That's boiling now. I think that's probably too hot. Okay, I'm going to try it. Okay, that should be enough to get started. Okay, so I wrapped this little mould around the first fret. I've also kind of pinched it just around the edge of the fretboard, just so that that's included in the mould. And I'm slowly watching it harden. It's just turning back to white at the moment. That's a little handle on top, by the way, so I can click it in place. So it's been about 5 or 10 minutes now, and that's feeling pretty solid. So I'm actually just going to leave it there for a bit longer, and I'm going to do the other ones. This one's pretty much set, and the other 3 are still kind of cooling down, but let's just pull this one off and have a little look. There we go. So that's an exact mould of the area around the first fret. So I'm going to trim these little ends off, and that's going to be very helpful. Go. So I've got moulds for frets 1, 3, 6 and 9 now. I'm going to aim for removing material in this area and this area, and just gradually massage it down until this meets. The other thing that'll let me know I'm there is when the edge of this template clicks over the edge of the fretboard. Because as you know, I've made this with little edges on it. So when they click over and they can reach all the way around the fretboard, I know I'm there. Well, the good news is these templates fit. So enough material's been taken off that section of the neck now. So now it's going to keep going into the neck transition and into the heel transition. Okay, as far as I'm concerned, this neck is in final shape now. So there's some little bumpy areas to smooth out and stuff. I'm going to call that final sanding. But all the dimensions and the curves and the contours that I wanted are all done now. And it's looking great, feeling good. Already feeling quite comfortable and very familiar